What's good? I am Yish. This is Yish in your ear. Today, we review Gold by Acustica Audio. Gold is a total of 4 plugins that includes a channel strip and 3 standalone plugins. The channel strip is the 3 standalone plugins together to give you a channel strip, and the other 3 are, of course, standalone. This particular product is based on pre-1970 Neve hardware, a few consoles, and the preamp that is well known and sought after across the industry even to this day. With that being said, let's get into it.
This is Yish in your ear.
Alright, so here we are, Gold. So let us take a look at the interface here. So what we have here is 2 EQ sections. Particularly the one on the left deals with more of the higher end of the EQ spectrum. The one on the right deals with more of the lower frequencies of the equalizer spectrum. You have your various colors of EQ based on the Neve hardware for the low, and you have one extra one here for the high with an additional shelf function. Clicking on the 8066 here on the high side brings this particular EQ, which is the 8066. As you can see, it has a high shelf. When you click on here, that's what activates this EQ, plus, minus, and then the bell here is activated by this one. And then at the bottom, you have yourself a low pass filter. And so next we have the 8122, which is a different EQ model than the 8066. It follows the same paradigm with the exception of this one having selectable frequencies for the extreme high, and of course a different set of frequencies for the mid, and again the low pass filter. The 8093 and the 8193 are roughly the same EQs with the exception of a shelf as opposed to a bell being provided for the highest frequencies. And finally, you have a 1073. Again, you have high shelf and on and off function, which designates a fixed frequency for the highest option, selectable frequencies for the bell, and again, a low pass filter. So each one of these has its own sweet spot, its own sound, its own character. They're not all the same, so that gives you nice flexibility in sculpting your tone. Now the low frequency only has the 3 main models. It does not contain the 93 EQ, but it does have the 73, the 66, and the 22. And again, you get an adjustable bell for the frequencies for the 8066, and then you also get down here a shelf, and then of course you have a high pass filter over here as well. Same scenario with the 8122, so you can mix and match the EQ types. So that's the EQ section. So on to the compressor. With the compressor, you get 2 different flavors of compressor. You get a 252 and you get a 254. You also get what's called an insane button. If you watch the first video talking about pink, I mentioned that all compressors for Aqua plugins contain what's called an insane button, which gives you a closer to hardware sound as opposed to with it off. The plus and minus to that, of course, the plus would be closer to the hardware, which gives you a much more tighter compression, not as loose, I guess, for lack of a better word. The trade-off is that when you use the insane mode, it's more CPU involved, so you have to be careful in using that. So for both compressors, the functions are pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is the selectable ratios. So for the 252, you have from linear, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1, and limit. For the 254, we have 1.5-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 6-to-1, and again, limit. Both come, of course, with attack and release. And finally, we have the SHMOD, which is basically Acustica Audio's version of the curve in which the compressor reacts. Finally, you have the preamp section here, which you get 7 different preamp colors, one for each of the various hardware pieces that they sampled from. You get the 8066 in the mix fashion, the 8066 in the bus fashion. You also get the 252's preamp section, the 254's preamp section, the 8122's preamp section, and 2 versions of the HO73 preamp sections, as well as an off function. As standard, you get an input control, you get a dry and wet mix control, and an output control. And you also, with this particular plugin, and actually the last few strips that they produced, you are able to change the configuration of the modules. F being the filter modules, E being the equalizer modules, and C being the compression modules. So you can choose from 4 different configurations based on what you need. Also, you get independent versions of the modules that are included in the strip. You get the preamp, which here shows you 6 different preamp selections, as well as different iterations of each one of the preamps. So you get a variation for each 6 of the preamps that is sampled here. The input trim is gain compensated, so the more you turn this up, the more the volume turns down, so it's equally compensated on both ends. That is the standalone preamp module. You also get an independent compressor, and you do of course get the choice of the 8252 or the 8254. With the standalone version here, you get sidechain functioning. And last but definitely not least, you do get the EQ modules, which again, you can choose the different ones for the upper equalizer and the different ones for the lower equalizer. All right, so we touched on the interface itself. Let's see what this thing sounds like. So I've decided to just demonstrate this on the lead vocal on this particular track. The reason being, this is still in pre-release. There are still some things that need to be tweaked on the software itself, possibly a couple of bugs that need to be squashed on it. And other than that, I truly believe that the Neve sound in regards to vocals is where it truly shines. And I do have the various parts in here are processed with the gold strip, but I'm just going to demonstrate on the vocal track just to keep it short and sweet and leave further experimentation up to you. So here is the song that I put together strictly for this particular review. So listen for the lead. This is before.
I don't know what happened to you on that night. I know I can't live without you by my side. Now that I've got you in my arms tonight, you'll never slip away. Won't let you out my sight.
All right. And here it is after.
I don't know what happened to you on that night. I know I can't live without you by my side. Now that I've got you in my arms tonight, you'll never slip away. Won't let you out my sight.
So as you can see, it imparts authentic character from the Neve hardware. It is a beautiful sounding set of modules. A couple of things before I let you guys go. There is 2 different versions for each one of the 4 plugins that come in the package. There is the regular version that is generally used for mixing. It has a large delay on it. So you would not use that particular version for tracking. But there is a zero latency version for tracking. The difference between the two, other than the fact that one has latency and the other one does not, is the CPU hit. The zero latency version, it chews up CPU. So using it in a tracking format, you would really only use one, and it would be the only thing that you would use it for, unless of course your computer system has extreme specs. I have about 8 virtual cores in this i7 with 32 gigs of RAM, and it shoots up to about 77% in my composing program. I haven't seen what the specs look like in Reaper or Cubase or anything else, or Pro Tools. It may handle it a little better than in my composing and recording program, but it is a monster when it comes to CPU processing to use the zero latency version. But you get authentic, straight in the box, straight to tape, committed sound if that's how you want to work. Otherwise, if you're using it during mixing, of course, then you would simply use the non-zero latency version, and you're able to actually load up a boatload. I think I've seen one person say 25 instances of the plugin itself, which would allow you to have a Neve console, so to speak. This has been my review of the Gold VST Neve sampled hardware from Acustica Audio. Stay tuned for more as I continue with the Acustica Audio review series. As always, don't forget to subscribe. That helps me continue to make more videos for you. And again, stay tuned.